Valerie Simpson. That's right, that Valerie Simpson of Ashford and Simpson. She's up next. Let's talk. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Thank you guys for tuning in to another video over here, another episode of Peppy's Point of View. And I'm your host, your R&B historian, Peppy. Well, let's skip the regular smuggler because I'm trying to get all of these videos uploaded that I have over in my community section of this YouTube page, right? And so I'm trying to get these videos out. And so that's why I am skipping some parts that I would normally do within these videos because, you know, trying to get it done. Get Valerie Simpson on the phone. She's my guest today. And I have some questions for Valerie Simpson. Oh, child, this one is going to be tough, Valerie, I'm sorry, I don't know if she won't, sometimes people don't want to break up that name, so I don't know. But Valerie, this one is going to be tough. It really is. And it's going to be tough because I always go in a different angle. And Val, I have some, what I would call some real tough questions for you. I do, Val. And, hopefully one day, I get around and start talking to some people. But right now, this is a conversation that I'm having. So if I could ask Valerie Simpson anything, this is going to be tough. Oh gosh, I'm trying to brace myself. This is a tough one. It really is. Let's get right into it. Why Valerie Simpson? Like, what happened? Usually there is a particular reason why I'm covering the R&B divas that I'm covering, okay? I can easily just choose a particular diva to cover, randomly and then do this, right? So all of the divas I have covered up to now, it's intentional, okay? And I definitely, it's one or two things. The diva is on my mind, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, okay, that'll be a great person to, talk about. And then I set the name to the side, kind of like in my mind, or write the name down on my calendar or whatever. I do it that way. Sometimes I'm in the mood to listen to that diva's music, and I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't think about that. I'll, talk about her, later. You see what I'm saying? Whew. So Val, how did she come up? How did Val come up in the list of these R&B divas? One day on my social media page, there I am. Well, no, not on social media page, on YouTube. I'm looking at different things on YouTube, and of course, when you're typing in certain things, and then these algorithms and all of this stuff, they think you want to see certain things, right? Obviously, and so Valerie Simpson popped up. It was an interview someone was doing on Valerie Simpson, and I was like, oh, okay, let me see what this is about. And I'm going to put that video in the description box below, okay, so you guys can kind of get a feel for where I'm going with this, my commentary, because it's kind of based off this interview. So I'm watching this interview, and Valerie Simpson, she's coming down the aisle. And then she's coming down the aisle, and, people are applauding her. She's coming down to be, to go on the stage to be interviewed. And a lady reaches her hand out to Valerie. And I'm like, this lady looks familiar to me. So as they're getting closer and closer, it's Martha Reeves. Yeah, it's Martha Reeves. She reaches out to towards Valerie Simpson. Valerie Simpson, of course, reaches back out to her. You know, they speak, so on and so forth. And it finally clicked into my head, okay? Motown. Hold that right there. I told you I'm always going somewhere you don't think I'm going. So I'm saying Motown. I was like, well, sure. How can I forget about Valerie Simpson is associated with Motown? That's what's going on in my head immediately. You know, I'm like, Motown. And this is why I say it's going to be difficult, because I probably would make a comment about something. And I don't know, you know, Valerie, she probably feel like, you know, what is he? Why did he say that? You know, so I try to be mindful about how I said, how I worded, so on and so forth, because I don't want it to come off like condescendingly, or I don't want it to be conveyed as I am minimizing something, you know, because at the end of the day, you know, I mean, I'm aware, you know, this is people's body of work, you know, and things like that. So I want to be mindful of that. But I'm going somewhere. Like I said, this every now and then I get these tough ones, and she's the tough one. I have to admit that. So I'm like, yeah, Motown. And it clicks, because I'm like, yeah, duh, Motown. Like, she's associated with Motown. You should have known that. But I'm saying to myself, I know that. But whenever you hear people talk about Motown, I'm just saying, a lot of those instances, Ashford and Simpson names are not top tier. See, now, wait a minute. See, that's why I say it's going to be a tough one, because it's kind of like, wait a minute, what do you mean? And I can see Val, like, you know, Valerie, like, what do you mean? Like, my name is not coming up. Yes, it is. Hold on, just follow where I'm going. It's kind of like, for me, I always hear about Holland Dozier Holland. I always hear about Norman Whitfield. You know, I'm hearing about Diana Ross and the Supremes and so on and so forth. I hear about all of these individuals. But unfortunately for me, I don't hear Ashford and Simpson's name mentioned when it comes to Motown. Ashford and Simpson's name is definitely mentioned when you're talking about duos, right? It's kind of like you name duos, that Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson is numero uno, like really right off the gate. You know, it's kind of like, don't forget about Ashford and Simpson. It's kind of like, oh yeah. So to me, their names are more mentioned when it comes to singing, okay, and them being a duo. But hold on, like I said, it's going to be, I want you to follow me with this one. I really and truly do, okay? So just hold it right there, okay? So that's the first thing I'm thinking, right? So then, of course, she, you know, sits, you know, takes her seat, and they're having, you know, the interview has started. And there are certain things that I want to cover that, notice. I also want you to understand too. Forget all of the things right now. Put them to the side. Not forget. Let's lay them to the side again, because I want you to understand where I'm focusing on, because every now and then, this is what happens. Sometimes people will leave a comment and they say, oh, well, you forgot to mention this, or why didn't you mention this, and so on and so forth. I'm always going at a particular angle. And of course, I just can't cover their entire work like in a video. I mean, there's just no way, right? So focus only on Valerie Simpson right now, okay? And focus on Valerie Simpson as an R&B diva. Right? Aha. Now I think I have your attention, because when you focus on Valerie Simpson solely as an R&B diva, it gets a little more complicated, doesn't it? Right? Because wait a minute, now you're saying Motown. Yes, she is a Motown songwriter. Their name does not come up a lot. I mean, it comes up, but their name should be up there, right? Hold it. See, we're going somewhere. So I was like, that's interesting. And then in the video, or during the interview, Valerie Simpson mentioned that she put out a solo project. See where I'm going? So I was like, oh, she did? That's what Valerie Simpson has, a solo record? And I was like, okay, let me check it out. And I listened to it, okay? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Now, many people probably know that Valerie Simpson has a solo record out, and more than one. We're focusing on Valerie Simpson as an R&B diva. And now I hope I'm getting you to the point where you're thinking like, okay, where is he about to go with this? All right. So Valerie says in this interview that Holland Dozier Holland, one of the gentlemen of this songwriting and production team, came across their body of work, like, you know, their music, and wow, this is you guys. You did all of this. Like, this is all you. And Nick and Valerie, of course, they're like, yeah, that's us. We did this. I think I want to ask you guys to come on over to Motown, you know, as songwriters. You know, we could really use this, you know, over at Motown. So notice where I'm going with this. At this moment in time, think in your head, you have Holland Dozier and Holland looking at Nick Ashford and Valerie Simpson's body of work, like the work, the things that they're doing, to come over as additional singers, as additional songwriters. Not singer-songwriters, but as songwriters. Interesting. Okay? Just hold it right there. So at this moment in time, it's safe to say, and we're focusing on Valerie Simpson though, it's safe to say that now Valerie Simpson is in a box, right? She's in a box because, you know, she's automatically put in this songwriters category. Okay, and is there anything wrong with it? Not really, you know, it's like, oh, okay. So hold on to that. So then I started asking myself questions, and I was like, why would you say that, Peppy? Why would you say this about Valerie Simpson, like, you know, focusing on R&B divas, their names are not coming up, so on and so forth, right? Why would you say that? And I said, well, because I just don't really hear, you know, a lot from them in this particular category, you know, when it comes to Motown. I just don't, okay? And I'm not quite sure where they are within the Motown, you know, sound as far as all of the artists on Motown. But when I hear of Ashford and Simpson, as far as songwriters are concerned, I immediately think of Diana Ross, right? Diana Ross. And Marvin Gaye and Tammy Terrell. So I was like, but those were some major hits, though, especially for Diana Ross. That's what I'm saying to myself. I'm like, those are some major hits. You know, if you watch me long enough, you know my mind goes like, Diana Ross. It's like, whoa. So now you have them in a box as songwriters. They're in a box. But now they're in a box. Diana Ross. They're in that box now. They're in the songwriters box, but then they're in that box with Diana Ross. Say what you want to. I know that Diana Ross is the diva of all divas, right? You know. And of course, she's had all of this success and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, Diana Ross, out of all the doors she has had to knock down in her career and so on and so forth, you know what? I'm pretty sure Diana Ross would say, hey, I mean, if she's being honest about things, I'm still not the caliber of diva that these other divas are. And I'm not going to bring up any names, you know. You know, back in the day, let's just say she put on an event in her career that was similar to another diva's career, you know, pop diva's career. Do you understand where I'm going with this? So it's kind of like, hey, you know, I know, but, you know, I mean, as much as I want to say I've crossed over or whatever, but I still got to deal with this. You know, people still see this, right? But Ashford and Simpson, I would say, would be in that box as well. Why would you say that, though, Pepe? Why would you say she's in this box with Diana Ross? Because even though these are hits for Diana Ross is still trying to achieve certain things in her career. So it would be quite natural, right? That even though these songs are big hits in the Motown machine and across the board, if we are going to minimize Diana Ross's success, then in a roundabout sort of way, we will minimize the songs too. No matter how great Reach Out and Touch, no matter how great Ain't No Mountain High Enough, like, we'll minimize that too. Who cares, right? So now I'm saying in my head, she's in a box because of that. She's in another box. Now, she mentioned something else in this particular interview that I found to be interesting. Motown was only interested in them as songwriters, nothing else. That's another box. And then when she had the opportunity to do a solo project, it was kind of like, oh, okay. You understand? It's like, oh, okay. You know, we'll do it. It's like, oh, okay. Yeah. And I should put up a picture of the album. I don't know why I didn't do that, but let me do that too. So it's kind of like, oh, okay. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, you know, we are not really interested in doing that, you know, putting you out as a solo diva, you know, but hey, you know, let's see. And I think Valerie mentioned that they did this is because they noticed that they had all of this music that had not been recorded, and it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, we have all of these songs still left over. You know, it only seemed, I guess, kind of natural. Let's just see about putting it out, you know, putting a record out, you know, and I'm not quite sure why they chose to do it with only what's his name? With only her instead of her and who, I'm sorry, y'all, I'm losing my train of thought. It wasn't suggested, I'm going to say, for her and Nick to do it together. For whatever reason, they decided, well, you know what? Hey, we'll just do it with Val, right? And so they did it. So whatever the case is, I guess they kind of considered that they would do this with, you know, her only. And I want you to look at something. This is where I'm trying to go. Oh, gosh. I don't know how much of this album you can see, but look at this. I really want you to pay attention to where my mind is. So when I look at this album cover, I said to myself, I said, that's her album cover. See, I'm trying to be a tad bit, yeah. It's like, that's the album cover. And when I see the album cover for her, for the album Exposed, I'm saying, I don't think they was taking, that's kind of like a slap in the face the album cover is to me, because it shows that you're really not taking her seriously. And they're not interested in you being a recording artist anyway. So now for them to do that and then give you that kind of album cover shows that they're not taking you seriously. But then when I think about it, my mind, it says, no, they have her in a category, a songwriters category. So when I see that album cover, I'm saying, oh no, this is a songwriters album. I can look at it and tell. It's like, oh, we're gonna market you as a songwriter, not a diva. And that's it to me. That's what I think the album cover is marketed as. Her as a songwriter, not a diva. See where I'm going? You need to think about Valerie Simpson as an R&B diva. Then Valerie says in this interview, she says, well, we realized that the writing pretty much is on the wall at Motown. And that's when they, saying, okay, they're going to leave Motown. It's just what it is. They understand what Motown wanted of them. They delivered. It is what it is. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. Let me make sure of this. I do believe that, yeah, I just wanted to make sure. So they transition, they go over from Motown as songwriters over to Warner Brothers as a duo. Interesting. Well, why do you find this interesting? Well, I'm focusing on Valerie Simpson as an R&B diva. And the duo is obviously now having success, okay? Their albums, for the most part, they're performing decently on the charts, right? And eventually, according to, where you're getting your information from, they have 3 gold records over at Warner Brothers, okay? And they have racked up, of course, a #1 hit within that time frame from 1973 to 1980. They have 3 gold records and 1 #1 single, which will be "Is It Still Good to You?" And that's a top 20 on the pop charts as well. Interesting. Now, somewhere in the mix of all of this, Valerie Simpson says that for whatever reason, Nick is focused. Nick somehow or another has this opportunity to work with another artist, and he, working with that artist, got, I think, a #1 hit with that artist. And I think it was maybe solely, his work solely. She was not a part of it. And so Valerie says, well, I really might need to rethink this, because if this works for Nick, if Nick can do this over and over again like that, I might find myself out of a job, and I don't want that. So let me, really and truly focus and hone my craft and all of those kinds of things, and make sure that I keep myself employed with this Ashford and Simpson thing. Interesting. Interesting. I'm just saying, just follow me. Interesting. Because we're focusing on Valerie Simpson, the R&B diva. Now, it seems to me, and this is where I'm going to stop, because I want to make sure, again, you all understand where I'm going with this. I'm going to recap since I'm at the 30-minute mark, because we're about to really jump into something. So we have Valerie Simpson in a box as a songwriter, right? She's just in the box. That's just what I mean. That's her thing. She's boxed in that, with no intentions other than her being a songwriter. She does well with it, right? Regardless of how many, hits she has at this moment in time, whether they're spread across the, spread over certain artists, or if it's just her with one or two artists, like they make good, right, as songwriters. But they are in this Diana Ross box. That's just how I feel. This is just, like I said, this is my, it's my take on it. But she's in this Diana Ross box. She really is. And at this time, you have to really and truly think about it. Barry Gordon and Diana Ross, they already got this alleged personal, for sure, professional relationship going on. And Diana Ross is the diva of all divas, right? She's running this Motown machine, like whatever, even if she placed herself in that particular place. It's kind of like, no, this is my show. This here is my thing. And Barry Gordy understood that, and he was okay with working with that. With all of the stories that Gladys Knight has said allegedly, has occurred, or with her being pulled off shows sometime because, she's giving, people a run for their money and this, that, and the other, and so on and so forth. The things that Patti LaBelle had to say about her, and so on and so forth. Like, it is what it is. So it's safe to say, based off this, and I'm not saying that Valerie Simpson has had any kind of back and forth with Diana Ross. That's not what I'm alleging. I mean, or trying to get you guys to think. That's not what I'm doing. But it's safe to say, if they're not interested in her, but only as a songwriter, they're not interested in her as an R&B diva or a pop diva, they got that sealed. You would think at some moment in time, sitting at the being in the studio, that they'd hear Valerie Simpson and Nick Ashford singing, right? They're singer-songwriters. So they have to sit, all of them, the executives, Holland Dozier Holland, all of them have to sit there like, oh, wow, you guys sound good together. Motown, I mean, nobody there is saying y'all need to be a duo or anything like that. Y'all want a record deal? Like, it's not coming up. Even when the hits are coming. And they are songwriters, but not necessarily yet producers, but they are songwriters. And then they prove themselves as songwriters and producers. Oh, you guys really can do this? You sure you don't want to do this? Now, in my head, the way I think, I would just say, well, reach out and touch. Ain't no mountain high enough. Ain't nothing like the real thing. And all of these songs and all of these hits. Ooh, see, I like the way I think. I like the way I think. No, we don't want you to be an R&B diva, Valerie. We have Diana Ross. No, we wouldn't want you to be a duo. We have Tammy Terrell and Marvin Gaye filling that spot every now and then. So no, why would we want you in that category? Yeah, you're great, probably in their mind. Like, what's the lady's name? I don't know who's the lady's name. I can't think of her name right now, but the lead singer of Rolls Royce, who said that allegedly Norman Whitfield was like saying, "You are the group." And I can get Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse and Daffy and all of them to sing behind you, because you're the group, right? I'm sorry. But so what I'm trying to say is put aside all of this, like this talent needs to be, this person needs to be developed, and so on and so forth. Put that all aside, because that's just a whole bunch of, you know, it is what it is. Because at the end of the day, that's what it's going to take. It's going to take money and time for you to develop any artist. It doesn't matter. Even the a seasoned artist still needs that attention. So they wouldn't fill that position over at Motown. I didn't think about that one. Interesting. Interesting. But anyway, the writing is on the wall, and they go over to Warner Brothers. It still doesn't come up. So now I think this is where I do have a question that didn't come up in the interview, and maybe it did and I missed it. But then I would ask the question, where you guys went over to Warner Brothers, did you go over to Warner Brothers to be songwriters and producers? Or did you go over to Warner Brothers to be, you know, a duo? Did it come up like, okay, well, maybe we're interested in Val solely, maybe we're interested in Nick solely? Like, how did that come about, and what made you guys say, okay, I think we need to be this the songwriting and production duo, you know, and performers as well? Stay right there, because now the way my mind is working when it comes to this R&B diva thing regarding Valerie Simpson, well, that probably wasn't going to happen either. Why wouldn't that happen? In my head, I'm saying to myself, well, that probably wouldn't happen because it's Warner Brothers. Warner Brothers Records. And what's going on at Warner Brothers Records by the time Nick gets over there? I mean, Ashford and Simpson arrive. What's going on? What's going on? Who's over there? I want you guys to think. I know what I'm about to say, but I'll just say, what's going on over there? Who's over there? It's Warner Brothers Records. Who's over there? By the time Ashford and Simpson gets over to Warner Brothers, who's over there already? Shaka Khan. Shaka Khan, right? Rufus and Shaka Khan. So they probably are over at Warner Brothers around about the same time. They show up at the same time, let's just say. Warner Brothers. Now, you guys probably think I'm reaching. Go back to my Rochelle Farrell video, and I can't remember which one it is because I have a couple of Rochelle Farrell's video. Rochelle Farrell said, or has been quoted as saying, "Dear Rochelle, you're wonderful. Unfortunately, we filled our roster of Black female vocalists." Rochelle Farrell said this. So I can't be too far-fetched with this, right? This can't be too out. I mean, Valerie Simpson, we have Diana Ross. You're good. You're a good singer-songwriter. We know this. You've proven yourself. But Diana Ross over here doing that thing. We got Tammy Terrell. Okay, that's. Then by the time she gets over to Warner Brothers, Shaka Khan has showed up. Both divas have showed up in either a band or a duo. They're not individual singers. I'm just saying. It's just me. That's all I'm saying. Right? I'm trying to go somewhere. And obviously, they're having some success with Rufus and Shaka Khan, to the point where they eventually changed the name from Rufus to Rufus and Shaka Khan, or Rufus featuring Shaka Khan, like that. So they already pushed Shaka Khan out front. And it could just be on the success of Rufus. Like, okay, this thing look like it's really getting going. Shaka Khan, she looks like she's the R&B diva breakout with this. So let's go ahead on and put her out front in this group. Well, Ashford and Simpson, for the most part, you know, we really like you guys. You know, we like what you're doing, so on and so forth. You know, we just got to keep going at it, you know, and get some hits. But right now, you know, you're doing great, you know. But right now, we're just not really seeing the results that we want to see, you know, with you guys, you know, with your first, I don't know, 4 or 5 records as Ashford and Simpson for Warner Brothers Records. Like, you know, you're doing good, but it's just not in there. And so by the time Ashford and Simpson, or let me just focus on Valerie for the most part, but by the time Valerie has now gotten to the point in her career where she's having some success being a part of a duo. She's not asked to be the breakout artist in the duo. Like, she's not asked that at all. But you know what she's asked to do. You have an opportunity to write for Shaka Khan's solo album, which is good, because work is work. You understand what I'm saying? And guess what Valerie does? From my understanding, the story goes, Nick, you got to, you know, you got to find your feminine, you got to, what she say? What Valerie say? You know, something about, you know, yeah, you got to get in tune with your feminine part, of something she said when he was about writing I'm Every Woman, because it was a difficult song for him to, you know, write. And so anyway, long story short, they come up with I'm Every Woman, right? And that literally like put Shaka Khan, as they say, center stage. So yet what we have here when it comes to Valerie's career as an R&B diva is that she got hits for Diana Ross. She has hits for Tammy Terrell. And now when she's in a place in her career where she can deliver, where it's being shown like, okay, it's taking a minute, but you're finally there. You know, is it still good to you? It looks like we're about to really get there. And instead of the attention needs to be turned to her as an R&B diva, Shaka Khan has already built up all of this momentum. It's kind of like, all right, well, you can write for her. You can write and produce for her. And that's what happens. So she's still in this box. But what box would she be in? Why you keep saying box? I don't want to say it's a box and then imply that there's a glass ceiling. No, that's not what I'm trying to say. Please don't look at it that way at all. And I'm not saying it's a box where she's in it, that maybe it's a poor use of a word. How about a category? How about that? Like she's placed in this songwriters category. Right? She's placed in this category again. She's not placed in an R&B diva category. Right? Here's another thing. From my understanding, years ago in an interview that I saw years ago with Valerie Simpson, and I think Nick was present as well, but probably, Either way, forget all of that. It was years ago. I recall Valerie saying that when it was time for them to, I guess, name the duo, name the group, it was Nick who said he thinks the duo should be called Ashford and Simpson and not Simpson and Ashford, because if it's called Simpson and Ashford, he won't be taken seriously. Do you understand where I'm going with all of these kind of maneuvers and all of these things as it relates to an R&B diva's career? See, we're talking about R&B divas. And I'm not necessarily saying anything bad, but it's just interesting. It's an interesting take on a career that has had a lot of success, but at the same time, I'm focusing on her as an R&B diva, and it just seems like when it should have been the case for her, it wasn't, because number one, she was either placed in a category, proved herself worthy, like, hey, I mean, okay, finally I done got hits with these, as a songwriter, I have hits in this duo now, right? Let's make good on this R&B diva career. It's like, but no, we have a diva out right about now. Which then I would ask the question, you know, to Valerie. I would say, well, Valerie, who, and I would just say is regarding record companies, you know, executives, management. I don't know at this point in time in their career, is this when they have started their professional relationship has now become a personal relationship as well. So I don't know if this is the time of that happening. And also too, I'm just saying, it's just me implying. But I would also like to think, did Nick ever speak with Val about saying, hey, you know, let's try this one more time with you? You know what I'm saying? Like, I think I can get, I think we can really get a hit album, hit record with you. You know, you're just as good as Diana Ross, if not better. You're just as good as Shaka Khan, if not better. And I know someone is, if you got to this part, you say, wait a minute, did he just say Valerie Simpson is just as good as Shaka Khan, is not better? Yeah, I just said, I know what I said. Yeah, I meant that. Why? You know, what I love most about Valerie Simpson at this moment in time, out of all the songs I've seen her perform, right? I've never, well, you know, on television or whatever. And then I get to see these clips on social media of her performing certain songs. I love to see her perform I'm Every Woman. Like when she performs Every Woman, I love it. And I love the fact that she performs Every Woman because, okay, yeah, Whitney Houston did a great job with it, vocally, so on and so forth. Shaka Khan, you know, that's one of her signature songs, and she performs it and everybody loves it and so on and so forth. You know, Shaka Khan, you know, she has her own sound. But as, let's just say, a producer of the song, because I don't think she wrote that song, but let's just say as a producer of the song, as an arranger, composer of the song, I love to see Valerie Simpson perform it because she is so, like, she is so in tune and comfortable with who she is as a singer and as a musician that she is definitely not trying to be anybody but Valerie. And that's what I like so much about it when I see her perform it. And I mean, baby, she sings it. You understand what I'm saying? And she sings it like Valerie can sing it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I love to see her perform it. And when I see her there performing these songs, I see her sitting at the piano with this particular interview that I'm talking about. And in my mind, I go, Aretha Franklin. In my mind, I go, Roberta Flack. In my mind, I go, as a Carly Simon. See, in my mind, I'm thinking about all of these divas who she could have been in that category with, and yet it never went in that direction. I'm talking about as an R&B diva, right? So if you're coming in and think that I'm trying to discredit all of the things she's done, no, I'm just saying she could have did that and been an R&B diva too. I'm talking about like solo R&B diva. That's where I'm going. So when I hear her album Exposed, since I bring up Aretha Franklin, when I hear that album, I'm saying to myself like, Aretha Franklin would eat this up. My favorite song on the album is Center Man, by the way. And also, too, the other song on the album is my favorite as well. I can't think of the name of it. Something about I Don't Need. Is it I Don't Need? Something about I Don't Need. But there was... Again, that's one of my favorite songs on the album. But anyway, so I'm like, she's in all of these categories. And as I said, I'm wondering why the opportunity did not present itself in the 80s. And maybe it did. Where it was like, hey, I think we're hot. I think we can do this. I think, you know, you are an R&B diva, like, but the focus is Shaka Khan. The focus is Shaka Khan. Here's another thing that's interesting. I know you guys are probably saying he is really reaching, but okay. So then what happens is Ashford and Simpson eventually moved from Motown to Capitol Records. They go over to Capitol Records, and I think they get to Capitol Records during the, what, early 80s. Early 80s, they get over to Capitol Records. And it seems as if Valerie Simpson finds herself back in a similar situation. What is that situation? It seems as if she finds herself, well, over at Capitol Records, there's another male and female duo that is emerging over at Capitol Records. Renee Moore and A'ngela Winbush. They have, you know, signed a record deal over at Capitol Records. And by the time Ashford and Simpson gets there, Renee and A'ngela are 2 albums in, right? 1980, self-titled album, 1981, Wall to Wall. 1983, ooh. 1983. What is the name of that 1983 album? Rise. It's Rise. 1983 Rise. That's interesting. Because by the time when Ashford and Simpson gets there, it's almost like Renee and A'ngela are now moving over to Polygram. And Renee and A'ngela does not find any major success over at Polygram as a duo. And when they're gone, that's when you see that Ashford and Simpson, you know, make good on their record over there at Polygram. I mean, not Polygram, but at Capitol Records, right? Because by that time, their breakout song would be They have a, what's the name of the song called? Street? Something with street in it. Street. Not Renee and A'ngela. It's what's I'm sorry. Ashford and Simpson has a song out called Street something. I can't think of the name of the song. It's off the Street Opera album, but the song is called Street Corner. That's it, Street Corner. Oh gosh, y'all, I tell you, it's just so much stuff I be trying to remember. It's Street Corner is the name of the song that they do well with over at Capitol Records. And then they also have Solid. But Solid comes in after Renee and A'ngela goes over to Polygram. But we have another issue, a similar issue, right? She finds herself back in this male-female duo category, and it looks like it's, hey, this can work. You know, she has enough hits, you know, under her collective belt that she can become a solo diva. It's possible now. Forget about the past albums. Like, we so far away from that year is so, those years are so far behind her that what she has been able to do now in the Ashford and Simpson camp, right? That this is possible for her to be a solo diva. But there's another issue. Just like she found herself over there with Motown with Donna Ross, and she finds herself over there with with Warner Brothers Records with Shaka Khan. Well, she's over at Capitol Records. And what are you saying? If she's over at Capitol Records, well, you already know who's over at Capitol Records by now. But her career is about to transition where she's going to need some assistance, right? Because her years are behind her, right? With Capitol Records, that is. And that would be Natalie Cole. So then why? Who's over? Then the question I would have to ask myself, who's over at Capitol Records? Who's over at Capitol Records? That is a solo R&B diva. There isn't one, is it? So why is it then that Ashford and Simpson did not, that they didn't try to make good with Valerie becoming an R&B diva with them at the label? Because it was so very possible. Because Natalie Cole is not there. There isn't one. I think in my mind, it's the politics of it all, right? I don't know. That's just me, you know, saying. It's the politics of it all. Or could it be that, well, Valerie didn't want to be a solo R&B diva? Maybe she was comfortable in being the R&B diva that she is, you know, as a part of Ashford and Simpson. And it seems as if, as Valerie said, and the conclusion I guess I could come to is that Valerie said, well, Nick had some success on his own. I don't want to lose. I mean, this is my job. I don't want to lose my job. So let me really truly focus on this Ashford and Simpson thing, because this is where I want to be. So going all the way around and talking about Valerie Simpson as an R&B diva, right? As a then is it still good? It's still good. It's all good, right? It really is. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know, just went into a thought. And I guess the thought in my mind would be at this moment in time is that I don't, and I thought so. Let's talk about awards and nominations. That's what I want to talk about. So in 1969, Ashford and Simpson won 3 BMI awards for the songs Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Ain't Nothing Like the Real Thing, and Your Precious Love. Ashford and Simpson was inducted, were inducted into the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 2002. They were also recipients of the Rhythm and Blues Foundation's Pioneer Award in 1999. And ASCAP's highest honor, the Founders Award, which they received in 1996. And as far as Grammys are concerned, they have been nominated for 3 Grammy awards. 1985, Ashford and Simpson for Best Video. 1986, Solid for Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal. In 1987, Real Love, Best R&B Performance by a Duo or Group with Vocal. They were nominated but did not receive any. And then in 2019, they received the Grammy Trustees Award. Now, I have no idea what a Grammys Trustees Award is, and let's just see what this is. The Grammy Trustees Award is awarded by the Recording Academy to individuals who, during their career in music, technology, and so on, have made significant contributions other than performance to the field of recording. From 1983 onwards, performers could also receive this award. This award is distinct from the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award, which honors performers. Interesting. It's an interesting take. It's an interesting take with Valerie Simpson as an R&B diva. I would say this though. I don't know how much, how often Valerie Simpson performs, you know, throughout the years and what have you. But I will say this. It really would be great to see Valerie Simpson tour. I really would love to see what it would look like for Valerie Simpson as an R&B diva now to be center stage and to be that R&B diva. You understand what I'm saying? Like, why is it that she could not sing Ain't No Mountain High Enough, You're All I Need to Get By, I'm Every Woman? Like, I think, this is me personally, like it's my show. This is me personally saying that it would be great if Valerie Simpson would, at least if she doesn't have to do this like for the rest of her career, but it would be good to see her go out on a tour, you know, where she is basically being the diva. You understand what I'm saying? Like, she's taking claim now of her own individual Valerie Simpson identity as an R&B diva, and she can reinvent herself definitely by the material that she has, you know, wrote and produced all of these, you know, up throughout all of these years. I really and truly think so. You know, that's just my opinion. And that's, you know what, an hour video. An hour video. It's just my take on things. I don't know. Tell me what you think, you know, as it relates to Valerie Simpson. You know, would you say, oh, he is just so all over the place, you know, he's really reaching, you know, or what have you? Or, hey, I never really thought about this. And I guess what I want to say is, do you think that with all of the things that Valerie Simpson had accomplished throughout her career, that at some point in time in that career, I think it would have been great if the record companies and maybe even Nick, someone somewhere should have been that support and say, you know, let's squeeze you one in. you know, let's squeeze you one in. Like, you know, hey, you know, I'm every woman that's yours. I'm every woman. Do you understand? Yeah, I know. Well, on that note, right? On that note, I want you guys to remember to put your behind where your heart desires to be. And whenever I leave my mother's presence, she always says to me, babe, remember, I love you, but God loves you best. That's right. I look forward to seeing you guys next video. And until then, you know what to do. Take care of yourselves out there. All right.